Hello and welcome. I'm really glad you're here with me today. Wherever you are right now, maybe you're sitting at your desk, maybe you're on your way to work, maybe you're listening quietly at home after a long day. I want you to take a small breath with me. Just one. Nothing forced. Just enough to arrive. Today, I want to talk about something very real. Something many people carry silently every day. That feeling when you're at work, surrounded by colleagues, meetings, emails, conversations, and inside, you feel awkward speaking English. Not stupid, not incapable, just awkward. That small hesitation before you speak. That voice in your head that says, "Is this the right word?" That moment when your heart beats a little faster because everyone is listening. If you've ever felt this, you're not alone. And today, I want to sit with you inside this feeling gently, without judgment, and explore it together. I want to tell you a story. It's a simple story, but maybe it will feel familiar. I remember a time when I was working in an office where English was the main language. I could speak English well. I was a teacher. I understood grammar. I knew vocabulary. On paper, everything looked fine. But inside the office, inside meetings, inside casual conversations near the coffee machine, something changed. When I wanted to speak, my body felt tight. My shoulders rose slightly. My mouth felt dry. I remember sitting in a meeting room with glass walls, sunlight coming in, laptops open, coffee cups on the table, people talking easily, quickly, jumping in and out of conversation. And I had an idea, a good idea. I remember thinking it clearly in my mind. But when the moment came to speak, I hesitated. I thought, how do I say this naturally? Then, what if they don't understand me? Then, what if I sound strange? And in that short moment, someone else spoke. The conversation moved on. I stayed quiet. After the meeting, I felt heavy, not angry, not sad in a dramatic way. Just small. Maybe you know this feeling too. Sometimes the awkwardness doesn't come from lack of English. It comes from awareness. You are aware of yourself. You are aware of your accent. You are aware of time, of hierarchy, of eyes on you. At work, language is not just language. It's power. It's professionalism. It's identity. And when English is not your first language, every sentence can feel like a small test. Let me tell you another moment. One morning I was standing near the printer. It was making that slow, tired sound printers make. A colleague stood next to me. We smiled politely. He said, "Busy morning." Such a simple question. Busy morning. I knew the words. I knew the answer. But my mind didn't respond naturally. It paused. It searched. And in that pause, I felt awkward. Finally, I said, "Yes, quite busy. Many emails." He nodded. He smiled. The conversation ended. Nothing bad happened. Nothing embarrassing. But inside, I replayed it. Was that natural? Should I have said something else? Did I sound strange? This is what awkwardness really is. It's not about mistakes. It's about over-listening to yourself. Now, let's slow this down together. Think about this sentence. I feel awkward speaking English at work. Repeat it slowly with me. I feel awkward speaking English at work. Good. Now, try this one. I know what I want to say, but I hesitate. Say it quietly. Let the words feel soft in your mouth. I know what I want to say, but I hesitate. These sentences are not problems. They are truths. And when you can say your truth in English, something begins to shift. Let's return to that meeting room for a moment. After many experiences like that, I started noticing something. The people who spoke most confidently were not always the most accurate. They were not perfect. They paused. They corrected themselves. They said, but they kept going. They trusted that they belonged in the conversation. And that's when I realized something important. Confidence at work is not the absence of awkwardness. It's the decision to speak anyway. Maybe you felt this too. Maybe you've prepared sentences in your head before a meeting. Maybe you've practiced how to explain your work. Maybe you've stayed quiet. Not because you had nothing to say, but because you didn't want to say it wrong. Let me tell you something gently, as a teacher and as a human. Your silence is not a sign of weakness. It's often a sign of care. You care about being clear. You care about being respectful. You care about how you are perceived. But sometimes that care turns into a cage. Let's look at another small scene. Imagine you're in a team meeting. Your manager asks, "Does anyone have any thoughts?" There's a pause. You feel your heart move faster. You think, "I have something." Then, is it worth saying? Then, what if my sentence is not smooth? That moment, that exact moment is where confidence is built. Not by speaking perfectly, but by choosing to enter the space. You could say something simple. "I have a thought. I'd like to share something. In my experience." Repeat after me slowly. I have a thought. Again. I have a thought. This sentence is powerful. It buys you time. It invites patience. It signals presence. Here's another one. Let me try to explain. Say it gently. Let me try to explain. When you say this, you give yourself permission to be human. You are not saying this will be perfect. You are saying, I'm here and I'm trying. Now, I want to share something personal. Sometimes, after work, I would walk home replaying conversations in my head. I would think of better sentences, better words, better timing. And one day, I realized something almost funny. I was fluent, alone. In my head, my English was perfect. But language is not meant to live only inside us. It's meant to move, to stumble, to breathe between people. At work, English is not a performance. It's a tool for connection. Even when it feels awkward, especially when it feels awkward. Let's gently reflect on the word awkward. Awkward doesn't mean wrong. Awkward means unfamiliar. It means your body is learning something new. When you speak English at work, you are not just using vocabulary. You are learning how to exist in another language, in a professional space. That takes time. I want you to think about a small win, just one. Maybe you asked a question. Maybe you answered an email. Maybe you joined a short conversation. Even if it felt uncomfortable, that counts. Now, let's practice another sentence together. I'm still learning, but I'm improving. Say it slowly. I'm still learning, but I'm improving. This sentence is not for others. It's for you. Sometimes, the hardest person to speak English with is yourself. Now, imagine a different scene. You're in a meeting again, same room, same people. But this time, when you feel that hesitation, you take a small breath and you speak. Your voice might shake a little. Your sentence might not be perfect, but you finish it. And something changes. Not the room, not the people. You change. You start trusting that you can survive the moment. And that trust builds slowly, quietly, over time. Let's talk about mistakes for a moment. At work, mistakes feel expensive. They feel visible. But most of the time, people are not listening as closely as you think. They are thinking about their own tasks, their own worries, their own words. Your accent is not a problem. Your pauses are not failures. They are signs that you are thinking. I often tell my students this. Fluency is not speed. Fluency is flow. And flow includes pauses. Now, try saying this. It's okay to speak slowly. Again. It's okay to speak slowly. At work, slow speech often sounds thoughtful, careful, professional. You don't need to race. You belong at your pace. I want to share one more story. There was a time when I finally spoke up more often in meetings, not because I suddenly became confident, but because I became tired of being invisible. The first few times, my voice felt strange to my own ears, but after the meeting, I felt lighter. Not because I spoke perfectly, but because I spoke honestly. That's when I understood something important. Confidence is not loud, it's consistent. It grows every time you choose expression over silence. Now, I want you to imagine speaking English at work not as a test, but as a conversation with time. Each day, you add a small piece. Each sentence leaves a trace. And one day, you realize you are no longer thinking as much. You are just responding. That day will come. But only if you allow the awkward days to exist. Let's gently close this reflection with a few final sentences to practice. Repeat after me, slowly and kindly. I don't need to be perfect. I am allowed to take space. My voice deserves to be heard. Good. If today you speak one sentence more than yesterday, that is growth. If today you listen with less fear, that is progress. When we talk about work, we are not just practicing English. We are practicing courage, presence, self-respect. You are not behind. You are becoming. And as we continue together, I want you to stay inside this gentle space we've created. There's no rush to reach a conclusion. Confidence doesn't arrive suddenly. It arrives quietly, often when you're not looking for it. Let me ask you something, softly. When you imagine yourself speaking English at work, what is the hardest moment? Is it the beginning of a sentence? Is it being interrupted? Is it when everyone turns to look at you? For many people, it's not the speaking itself. It's the moment just before speaking. That small space between thought and sound. I know that space well. I remember sitting at my desk, reading an email again and again before replying. The message was simple. Nothing complicated, but I wanted it to sound right. Professional, polite, natural. I would write a sentence, delete it, rewrite it. And after sending the email, I would still think about it. Maybe you've done this too. This is not because you are weak in English. It's because you care about being understood. At work, misunderstanding feels dangerous. It can affect relationships, trust, reputation. So your mind tries to protect you. But sometimes, protection turns into tension. I want to tell you something very important now. Awkwardness is not your enemy. It is your teacher. Every time you feel awkward and still speak, your nervous system learns something new. It learns that you can survive the moment, that nothing terrible happens, that you are still respected. That learning is deeper than vocabulary. Think about the first time you did anything new, driving, presenting, even starting a job. Awkwardness was there too. English is no different. Now let's slow down again. Take one calm breath and listen to this sentence. I'm not confident yet, and that's okay. Repeat it quietly. I'm not confident yet, and that's okay. Notice the word yet. Yet is a gentle word. It leaves the door open. Now imagine a typical workday. You arrive. You greet your colleagues. Maybe you say, "Good morning." Maybe you add, "How are you?" Sometimes the conversation stops there, and that's fine. Not every interaction needs to be deep or perfect. Sometimes confidence grows simply by showing up, by being present in the language. Let me share another small moment. I once had a colleague who spoke English with a very strong accent. His grammar was not always correct, but he spoke without fear. He joked. He shared ideas. People listened to him, not because his English was perfect, but because his energy was open. That taught me something powerful. People respond more to presence than perfection. When you speak with sincerity, most people meet you there. Now, let's practice a few phrases that help you stay present when you feel awkward. Say this slowly. Give me a moment to think. Again. Give me a moment to think. This sentence gives you space. It shows thoughtfulness, not weakness. Here's another one. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this clearly, but try it. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this clearly, but this sentence does something beautiful. It invites understanding. It softens the room. You don't have to hide your process. At work, clarity often comes through honesty. Now, I want to reflect with you on something deeper. Sometimes feeling awkward in English is not just about language, it's about identity. In your first language, you are fully yourself. You can joke. You can be sharp. You can be emotional or subtle. In English, you might feel simpler, smaller, less nuanced. That can be uncomfortable. It can feel like you are not fully you. And that's a real feeling. But here is the truth many people don't tell you. Your English self is not a weaker version of you. It is a growing version. Every language you speak adds a new layer. At work, you are not losing yourself. You are expanding. It just feels awkward in the beginning. I want you to imagine your English voice as a young version of you, not childish, just young. It needs patience, encouragement, room to make mistakes. Would you be harsh with a young colleague, or would you support them? Try offering yourself the same kindness. Now, let's say this sentence together. I'm allowed to learn in public. Again, I'm allowed to learn in public. Work is a public place. Learning there takes courage. And you are already doing it. Sometimes you might leave work feeling tired not because of the tasks, but because of the constant self-monitoring in another language. That exhaustion is real. So if you ever feel tired after speaking English all day, know this. You are not weak, you are working deeply. Language uses emotion, memory, attention. Rest is part of learning. Now, imagine tomorrow. You go to work. You feel the same nervousness. But this time, you recognize it. You say to yourself, this is that feeling again. And instead of fighting it, you let it sit beside you. You speak anyway. Not loudly, not perfectly, just honestly. That is enough. Over time, those moments collect. And one day, you notice something surprising. You still feel awkward sometimes, but you don't stop anymore. You trust yourself to continue. That is confidence. Not the absence of fear, but the presence of trust. Before we finish, I want you to repeat a few final sentences. Let them settle into you. My English does not need permission. My ideas are worth sharing. I can speak even when I feel awkward. Good. Remember this. Every confident speaker you admire once felt exactly like you do now. They didn't become confident by waiting. They became confident by speaking through the discomfort. And you are already on that path. You don't need to rush. You don't need to compare. Just keep showing up. Stay with me a little longer. There's something else I want to explore with you. Something quieter. Something that often hides underneath that awkward feeling. Sometimes when you speak English at work, you're not only translating words, you're translating yourself. Your personality, your experience, your intelligence. And that's a heavy task. In your own language, you don't think about how smart you sound. You just are. But in English, you might suddenly feel measured, reduced to sentences, judged by fluency. That can hurt in a very subtle way. I remember moments when I finished speaking and thought, that didn't sound like me. Not wrong, just not me. Have you felt that feeling that your English voice is flatter, simpler, quieter than who you really are? If you've felt that, I want you to hear this clearly. Your depth does not disappear because of language. It's still there, even if it hasn't found all its words yet. Think about the ocean. Even when the surface is calm, the depth remains. Your English is the surface. Your experience is the depth. With time, the surface learns to move more freely. But it doesn't need to rush. Now, let me share another small scene. I was once asked for my opinion in a meeting. It wasn't planned. No preparation. Just a question, suddenly thrown into the room. My first instinct was panic. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I didn't know how to start. So instead of trying to be impressive, I chose to be simple. I said, I'm still thinking about this, but my first feeling is, that sentence saved me. It gave me time. It gave me honesty. It gave me a place to stand. And people listened. Not because the sentence was perfect, but because it was real. Let's practice that together. Repeat slowly. My first feeling is Again, my first feeling is, this phrase is gentle. It doesn't promise perfection. It invites conversation. At work, you don't need to deliver final answers all the time. You are allowed to share thoughts in progress. Now, I want you to notice something important. When you feel awkward speaking English, your body often reacts first. Tight chest, shallow breath, tense shoulders. Before words, there is the body. So sometimes, confidence doesn't begin with language. It begins with breath. The next time you feel that awkward moment approaching, try this quietly. Breathe in through your nose. Breathe out slowly through your mouth. Nothing dramatic, just enough to remind your body that you are safe. You are not in danger. You are in a conversation. Now, think about this sentence. I can take my time. Say it gently. I can take my time. Work culture often makes us feel rushed. Fast answers, quick responses. But clarity needs space. When you take your time, you often sound more confident, not less. I want to talk about another fear many people don't say out loud. The fear of being interrupted. Maybe you've experienced this. You start speaking. Someone jumps in. The conversation moves on. And you think, was it my English? Did I speak too slowly? Sometimes, yes, interruptions are cultural. Sometimes they are about hierarchy, and sometimes people just interrupt. It's not always about you. If you want to continue, you can gently say, sorry, just to finish my point. Try it. Sorry, just to finish my point. This sentence is polite, professional, and firm. You are not asking for permission. You are claiming your space. Your voice deserves completion. Now, let's reflect a little deeper. Many people believe confidence comes from speaking a lot, but often, confidence comes from knowing you have the right to speak. Even once, even briefly. You don't need to dominate conversations. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to allow yourself to exist in English. That's enough. Sometimes I imagine English at work like a room. At first, you stand near the door, quiet, observing. Over time, you step inside, you sit, you speak. Eventually, the room feels familiar. But no one expects you to enter and immediately own the space. Give yourself permission to arrive slowly. Now, repeat this with me. I belong in this conversation. Again, I belong in this conversation. Belonging is not given by perfect grammar. It's built through presence. Let me share one final reflection with you. One day, you will speak English at work and realize you didn't feel awkward that time. Not because you spoke better, but because you didn't judge yourself while speaking. That moment will surprise you. And then awkwardness may return again later. That's okay. Confidence is not a straight line. It's a relationship. Some days are easy. Some days are not. What matters is that you don't abandon yourself on the difficult days. When you speak English at work, you are doing something brave. You are choosing connection over comfort, expression over silence. And that matters. So today, or tomorrow, or the next time you're at work, I invite you to do one small thing. Speak one sentence you would normally keep inside. Just one. Let it be imperfect and let it be slow. Let it be yours. That is how confidence grows, quietly, honestly, over time. Let's stay here a bit more, in this quiet, honest space. There is another layer to this feeling of awkwardness that often goes unnoticed. It's the fear of being seen while still becoming. At work, many people want to appear finished, competent, complete. But when you speak English as a second language, you are visibly in progress. Your sentences show effort. Your pauses show thinking. And that visibility can feel uncomfortable. I want you to know something important. Being in progress does not make you less professional. It makes you real. I've met many people who speak beautifully polished English at work, but hide their doubts behind smooth sentences. And I've met others whose English was imperfect, but whose ideas were clear, grounded, and valuable. Guess who left the stronger impression? Language is a window, not the building. Your ideas are the structure. Now, think about a moment when you wanted to say something simple, but your mind complicated it. Maybe you wanted to say, "I don't agree," but you thought that sounds too direct, so you stayed silent. Here's something gentle you can try instead. I see it a bit differently. Say it slowly. I see it a bit differently. This sentence is calm. It's respectful. It opens dialogue. You don't need advanced language to express mature ideas. You need clarity and intention. Another one. From my point of view, try it. From my point of view. This phrase centers you. It reminds everyone, including yourself, that your perspective matters. Now, I want to talk about something very human. Comparison. At work, it's easy to compare your English to others. A colleague who sounds fluent, a manager who speaks effortlessly. But you don't know their story, their learning path, their struggles. And you don't need to match them. You only need to be honest where you are. Let me tell you a quiet truth. Most people are not judging your English. They are adjusting to it. And once they adjust, they listen to what you say, not how you say it. That adjustment happens faster than you think, especially when you speak consistently. Now, let's practice one more supportive sentence. I may not say this perfectly, but repeat it. I may not say this perfectly, but this sentence removes pressure. It creates patience in the room. And patience is confidence's best friend. Sometimes confidence is not about sounding strong. It's about sounding sincere. I want to reflect with you on something deeper again. When you speak English at work, you are stepping into vulnerability. You are allowing others to hear your unfinished thoughts. That takes courage. So if you ever leave work feeling tired, exposed, or emotionally drained after speaking English, please remember this. You did emotional labor, and that deserves respect, especially from yourself. Now imagine this. A younger colleague comes to you and says, I feel awkward speaking English at work. What would you tell them? You wouldn't say, be perfect. You wouldn't say, don't make mistakes. You would probably say something like, it's okay. You're doing fine. It takes time. Try saying those words to yourself. It's okay. I'm doing fine. It takes time. Language learning is not just about adding words. It's about softening self-judgment. Now, let's bring everything together gently. Awkwardness is not a sign to stop. It's a sign you're stretching. Hesitation is not failure. It's awareness. And awareness, when treated kindly, turns into confidence. The next time you feel awkward speaking English at work, don't ask, "What's wrong with me?" Ask instead, "What am I learning right now?" That small shift changes everything. You are not behind. You are not alone. You are walking a path that many people walk quietly, without talking about it. And now, you are giving it words. That alone is powerful. So wherever you are listening from, I want you to carry this with you into your next workday. Speak when you can. Listen when you need. Rest when you're tired. And above all, be patient with your becoming. Let's keep going, slowly, without pushing anything to end too soon. There is still something important sitting quietly between the lines of this topic, something many people feel, but rarely name. Sometimes feeling awkward speaking English at work is not just about English. It's about permission. Permission to take up space. Permission to sound unsure. Permission to be heard without being perfect. In many work environments, especially international ones, there is an unspoken pressure to sound confident all the time, to speak clearly, to respond quickly, to perform competence. And when English is not your first language, that pressure doubles. You're not only doing your job, you're translating your thinking in real time. That's a lot to carry. I remember a day when I shared an idea in a meeting, and someone responded very quickly, very confidently. Their English flowed. Their voice was strong. And for a moment, I doubted myself. Not because my idea was wrong, but because my delivery was quieter. Later that day, another colleague came to me and said, "I liked what you said in the meeting. It made me think." That surprised me, because in my mind, my words had felt small. But they weren't. And that's when I learned something important. Your experience of speaking is not the same as how others receive it. You feel every pause. They hear meaning. You feel the effort. They hear intention. This is why being kinder to yourself matters so much. Now, let's gently practice a different way of thinking. Instead of asking, "Did I sound awkward?" try asking, "Did I communicate something real?" Instead of asking, "Was my English good?" try asking, "Did I show up?" These questions are softer. They help confidence grow naturally. I want to talk about silence for a moment. Silence at work is often misunderstood. Silence does not always mean lack of ideas. Sometimes it means reflection. Sometimes it means respect. Sometimes it means careful thinking in another language. If you are quiet in meetings, that does not make you invisible. It makes you observant. And observation is a strength. When you do speak, your words often carry weight because they are considered. You don't need to speak often to matter. You need to speak honestly when you do. Now, imagine a small shift. The next time you're in a meeting, instead of trying to sound fluent, try to sound clear. Instead of long sentences, use short ones. Instead of complex words, use familiar ones. Clarity builds trust faster than fluency. Try this sentence with me. Let me say this simply. Again. Let me say this simply. This sentence is powerful. It signals confidence through intention. not speed. Another one. The main point is, say it slowly. The main point is, this helps you focus. It helps others listen. When you guide the conversation, you guide your own confidence. Now, I want to reflect with you on identity again, just for a moment. At work, language often becomes part of how we are judged. But your worth is not measured by your accent. Your intelligence is not reduced by searching for words. You did not lose your knowledge when you switched languages. You carried it with you. Every time you speak English at work, you are doing something quietly remarkable. You are bridging worlds. And bridges are built slowly, piece by piece. Sometimes they shake at first. That doesn't mean they will fall. Now, think about your future self. Not perfect, not fluent in a dramatic way. Just comfortable. Comfortable enough to speak without rehearsing every sentence. Comfortable enough to make small mistakes and move on. Comfortable enough to trust that you belong. That version of you is not far away. They are built from moments like today. Moments of awareness. Moments of reflection. Moments of choosing not to give up. I want you to say this sentence quietly, maybe only in your mind. I am allowed to be myself in English. Again, I am allowed to be myself in English. That sentence carries freedom. And freedom is the ground where confidence grows. As we come closer to the end of our time together, I want you to remember one simple truth. You don't become confident and then speak. You speak and confidence follows. Awkwardness is not a sign that you should stop. It's a sign that you are alive in the language. So take it with you into your next meeting, your next email, your next small conversation near the coffee machine. Let English be a place you live in, not a place you perform in. And when you feel awkward, smile gently to yourself. It means you're still learning. It means you're still growing. And that is something to be proud of. Let's take the final steps of this journey together, without rushing them. If you listen closely, you might notice that the feeling you call awkwardness has already changed shape. It's no longer just fear. It's awareness mixed with courage. It's the feeling of standing at the edge of expression and choosing not to turn back. And that choice matters. I want you to remember something very simple, something easy to forget in professional spaces. Work is made of people, and people are imperfect. Meetings are not exams. Conversations are not performances. Emails are not permanent records of your intelligence. They are moments, passing moments, and you are allowed to exist imperfectly inside them. One day, maybe sooner than you expect, you will notice that your attention has shifted. You'll be listening more to what others are saying, and less to the sound of your own voice. You'll respond before doubt has time to interrupt. You'll speak, and then move on, instead of replaying the moment again and again in your mind. That's when you'll know something has changed. Not your English level, your relationship with English. It will feel less like a test and more like a tool, less like a spotlight and more like a bridge. And even then, awkwardness may still visit you sometimes. On tired days, on important days, on days when you care deeply. Let it visit. Awkwardness does not mean you are going backward. It means you are still stretching into something meaningful. Before we finish, I want to leave you with one last quiet reflection. You are not learning English to impress. You are learning English to express. To express your ideas, your experience, your presence in the world. And that is a lifelong practice. So when you speak English at work tomorrow, or next week, or next month, don't ask yourself to be fearless. Ask yourself to be honest. Speak one sentence, then another, then rest. That is enough. You are not late. You are not lacking. You are becoming. And becoming is not something to hide. It's something to honor. This is English with Thomas. I'm Thomas. Keep speaking, keep growing, and keep trusting yourself.